And we go live to Barbados. The Venezuelan government and opposition sectors resume talks for a third time in Richmond.
Este diálogo que se ha retomado luego de casi un año de su último encuentro en Ciudad de México, específicamente el 26 de noviembre. Son las imágenes que transmitimos en vivo y directo desde Barbados, un histórico encuentro que se da entre estos sectores luego de que por años el presidente Nicolás Maduro pues ha hecho un llamado al diálogo nacional en reiteradas ocasiones. Su mensaje siempre ha sido de paz y de entendimiento en pro del pueblo venezolano.
It's very important to notice that this delegation has arrived in Barbados very early to hold talks. During this day, some meetings have been held before this encounter, which is part of the negotiating the talks. It's important to notice that President Maduro has joined the meeting to seek understanding of existing problems in Venezuela. Now let's listen. The sides will sign an agreement about political rights and guarantees and a partial agreement on the interests of both sides. So Venezuela and the opposition, Venezuela's government and the opposition are going to sign the agreements. Both sides are going to sign the partial agreement on the political rights and guarantees for all. In the ceremony, after a brief statement of Barbados representatives and Norwegian as a mediator country, both sides are going to sign the agreements. Now I'll read the agreement on the political rights and electoral guarantees. The facilitator country is going to read afterwards the statement. Then both sides will respond to media questions.
By Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs of Barbados, Mr. the Most Honorable Jerome Valcott.
Bienvenidos.
Con unas palabras de bienvenida del Ministro de Relaciones Exteriores en funciones, el Honorable Jerome Valcott. Tiene la palabra. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Mr. Dag Nylander, the lead facilitator and head of the Norwegian delegation. Mr. Jorge Rodriguez, head of the delegation of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Mr. Gerardo Blight, head of the delegation of the Unitary Platform of Venezuela. Mr. Efrain Guadarrama, Director General of the Regional Integration of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico.
Saludo a todos los representantes acá y a los miembros de la delegación del gobierno de Venezuela.
Excellencies, friends.
Excelencias y amigos.
I'm pleased to welcome you here this afternoon for this most historic occasion. I also bring greetings from my Prime Minister, the Honorable Mayor Amor Motley, who regrettably could not be here for the conclusion of these important negotiations. What we are witnessing here today has been the culmination of a process that started here in Barbados in 2019, and here we are 4 years hence to host its conclusion. One of the more important takeaways from this process has been the need to keep the communication channels open and a willingness to engage in dialogue. This, for us, has been a hallmark of the negotiations. We thank Norway for providing the facilitators whose perseverance
que estas reuniones entre el gobierno y la oposición iniciaron justamente acá en Barbados en el año 2019. También México ha sido la participación ha
for
sido
seeing the
primordial
process through
en esto.
to its completion. The conclusion of these negotiations and what they portend has major significance, not only for the people of Venezuela, but also for all Caribbean states, where there is recognition of the Caribbean Sea as a zone of peace. This is a message that Barbados and its regional neighbors have been repeating in all regional and international fora, and that it is never too late for dialogue. Venezuela has always been helpful to the Caribbean whenever energy crises have loomed, from the San Jose Accord in the 1980s to the Petro-Caribe Energy Initiative in 2005. Venezuela has been to support us. Now that the process has been concluded and Venezuela moves towards regaining its economic independence, we are looking forward in the very near future to a Petro-Caribe II arrangement. Just as dialogue has brought a positive outcome in this process, we, as members of the Caribbean community, look forward to continued dialogue with Venezuela on matters of regional interest. The next few months will be very important for Venezuela. Barbados pledges its support as you implement the provisions of the agreement. We stand ready to play our part. I'm obliged to you, and thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. We will proceed with some words from the head of delegation of Norway, the facilitating country, Mr. Dag Nylander. Continuaremos con unas palabras del jefe de la delegación de Noruega, el país facilitador, el señor Dag Nylander.
Muy buenas tardes a todas y todos.
To everybody.
Good evening to everyone.
Gratitude to the government of Barbados, and in particular to Prime Minister Mott and Acting Foreign Minister Walcott. Thank you for welcoming us so generously to your beautiful country. I would also like to welcome Director General Efrain Guadarrama, representative of Mexico, in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding of 13 August 2021. En nombre de Noruega y nuestro canciller, es un gran placer anunciar que la mesa de diálogo y negociación entre el gobierno bolivariano de Venezuela y la plataforma unitaria de Venezuela ha logrado avances significativos en temas esenciales para el pueblo venezolano. El empeño de
On behalf of Venezuela,
ha sido clave para crear las condiciones para llegar
we
a los
thank for the advancement.
National and international have been important in getting to the agreements that we have today. According to the MOU that was signed in Mexico, I hope that the agreements that was signed today will contribute to what the parties have agreed. Clear rules of living together and social accord in Venezuela. So I would like to congratulate the both groups. I would like to point out the heads of government, Jorge Rodriguez and Gerardo Blight, who have to get over the polarization. It could be a difficult job, but the will that they both have shown in these last 2 weeks has shown what can be achieved when everybody is looking for the best for Venezuela. There is still a lot of work to be done. However, I think that today is an important step towards having some lasting solution for Venezuela. Nevertheless, it is an effort that the international community has welcomed. As we see here, there are countries that are accompanying here, the Netherlands and Russia, and the other international actors that are here. Finally, I would like to point out a point that continues to be very important for the living together harmoniously in Venezuela. It will always be in the hands of the Venezuelan people and their representatives to solve their problems. We would like to take advantage of this moment to have some progress made for the people of Venezuela, and hopefully this will be help us for a solution not only for the Venezuelan but the people of the region. Thank you very much.
We will now proceed with the signing of the two partial agreements. We kindly ask the heads of delegations, Mr. Jorge Rodriguez and Mr. Gerardo Blythe, to approach the signing table, accompanied by Mr. Walcott, Mr. Guadarrama, and Mr. Nylander. Procederemos ahora a la firma de los acuerdos. Rogamos a los jefes de delegación, el señor Jorge Rodríguez y el señor Gerardo Blythe,
Mr. Blythe, to approach the signing table, accompanied by Mr. Walcott, Mr. Guadarrama, and Mr. Nylander. We will begin on this table with the signing of the three partial agreements, and then we will continue to the next table to sign the three copies of the second partial agreement.
And we now invite the following to proceed with the signing. Invitamos ahora a los siguientes a proceder a la firma. Nicolás Ernesto Madura Guerra. Roberto Enríquez. Francisco Torrealba. Stalin González. Génesis Garbet. Tomás Guanipa. Diva Guzmán. Mariela Magallanes. Gabriela Jiménez. Luis Aquiles Moreno. Camila Fabri de Sab. Luis Emilio Rondón. Larry Devo. Claudia Nicken. Y William Castillo. Muchas gracias. I will now read the partial agreement on the promotion of political rights and electoral guarantees for all in Spanish. A continuación, leeré el acuerdo parcial sobre la promoción de derechos políticos y garantías electorales para todos. Acuerdo parcial sobre
Partial agreement on electoral rights and guarantees for everybody.
Y la plataforma unitaria de Venezuela, actuando de conformidad con lo previsto en el memorando de entendimiento suscrito el 13 de agosto de 2021 en Ciudad de México, Estados Unidos.
In Mexico, acting under the
República Bolivariana de Venezuela, la ley orgánica de procesos electorales y demás normas aplicables. Comprometidos con el fortalecimiento de una democracia inclusiva y una cultura de tolerancia y convivencia política. Ratificando la voluntad
Ratifying the
de acordar las
willing
condiciones necesarias para que se lleven a cabo los procesos electorales
give
consagrados en la
conditions
Constitución con todas las garantías.
for executing actions with all guarantees, rejecting any
En contra de Venezuela,
against
su Estado
Venezuela, its
y sus
state,
instituciones.
and its institutions. Seeing, bear in mind what's in number one. That has to do with political rights for everyone and electoral guarantees for everyone, and based on what is in number two contained in the Memo of Understanding. As the parties recognize and respect of each political actor to choose their candidate for presidential elections freely. Bear in mind what is established in the Constitution of Venezuela and the law. Second, the parties will promote together the Electoral Council a number of electoral guarantees for all the actors for the coming presidential elections. Bearing in mind what is in the Constitution of Venezuela, the organic law, and thirdly, the electoral guarantees for all the actors to which this partial agreement refers. It will include the following aspects. One, to propose that the electoral process for the presidency will be done in the second semester in 2024, in accordance to the constitutional chronogram. Special days of inscription, campaigns to promote in the whole of Venezuelan territory with the witnesses of the political actors. I will send you ID identification for the whole country in conformity with the law of the country, and have the effect of development of all the auditors that has been with participation of all the political actors and the international observers according to the electoral law. The request for technical observers, as was agreed, including European Union, the United Nations panel, African Union, and the Carter Center from the point of view to observe the process. We are taking the law, always giving in and without any prejudice to the rights of the political actors. Number 5, the promotion of a public discussion favorable to the development of an electoral process, pacific, without any interference, outside interference. The parties reject any kind of violence in this process, any kind of action that are not attempt on the territorial integrity of Venezuela. I exhort all the political actors and public figures to respect these electoral norms during the development of their campaign, to ask the competent authorities to adopt of measures to guarantee the security and the liberty of circulation of all the candidates in the whole of the territory, national territory, without with the only limitations being what is enshrined in the Constitution and law. That to be any measure that can take away the rights of the political actors should be removed. That the political should have financing, transparent financing. Promotion of communication for all, that all actors should have access to the media, whether it's national, regional, and international media in public spaces, that according in the framework of what is in the Constitution. We'll ask all the media, local, national, and international, to cover the electoral campaign to be in accordance with what is enshrined in the Constitution and the law. We will promote the participation of all the presidential candidates so long as they conform to the requirements to participate in the presidential election. According to the law of Venezuela and the Constitution, to publicly recognition of the results of the electoral process. Fourth, the parties will make sure that what they agree is applicable according to the chronogram of the future. Fifth, in agreement with the point 7 of the agenda that has agreed, the parties have a mechanism which will with them. In the MOU, the parties will continue the process of negotiation with respect to other measures that will be pointing to a culture of tolerance and convenience and respect to human rights. Bearing in mind that they have yeah.
Communique of the parties. El señor Dag Nylander concluirá ahora esta ceremonia con la lectura del comunicado conjunto de las partes.
Comunicado conjunto número 5. Dando seguimiento al memorando de entendimiento suscrito el 13 de agosto de 2021 en la Ciudad de México, el gobierno de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela y
the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the opposition has resumed the process
the process of negotiation on the process in Venezuela. In this session today in Barbados, the parties signed a partial agreement on political rights and guarantees for all, bearing in mind that the number 1 and 2 of the that has to do with political rights for everybody and electoral guarantees for everybody. They also signed a partial agreement for in the interest of the country to preserve the assets of the country and to defend the sovereignty of Venezuelan country. Finally, they thank the facilitator from the Kingdom of Norway and Russia and the Netherlands and Barbados for being the host. The ceremony
to the media in this part of the room. Gracias. La ceremonia ha concluido. Las partes estarán ahora a disposición de los medios de comunicación en la sala vecina.
In the adjoining room.
We're watching live from Barbados the signing of key agreements between the Venezuelan government and opposition sectors. The representative of Norway, facilitator of these talks, described the agreements as very significant for the development of the country. The partial agreements range from measures to ensure the transparency of the upcoming elections to the defense of Venezuela's sovereign territorial integrity and the rightful self-determination. The parties in the joint statement pledged to protect and safeguard the assets of Venezuela's both in the country and abroad. We will have more updates on this and many other topics in upcoming news briefs. Stay tuned with teleSUR.